It all begins on an ordinary evening, the kind of evening where the lights of the studio shine just a little brighter than usual, where the audience fills the air with whispers of excitement, and where every contestant backstage waits with a mixture of fear and hope running through their veins. Among those contestants stands a young Filipino man named Daniel, quiet, humble, and seemingly unsure of what's waiting for him beyond the giant stage doors. He holds nothing but a simple microphone in his hands and a dream in his heart, a dream that has lived with him since childhood, a dream inspired by a man whose music changed generations. Elvis Presley. Daniel's story isn't one of fame, riches, or privileged training. In fact, it's the complete opposite. Growing up in a small barangay in the Philippines, he lived in a home where music was the escape from a difficult life. His father worked long hours as a mechanic, his mother sold food on the street to help support the family, and they barely earned enough to make ends meet. Every night, his father would turn on an old radio, tune it to the crackling station that played classic hits, and there it was, the sound that shaped Daniel's entire world. The deep, rich, iconic voice of Elvis Presley. He grew up listening to those songs again and again. He memorized the tone, the rhythm, the emotion, but without copying the legend, he somehow absorbed the soul of the music. He didn't have vocal lessons, expensive instruments, or access to studio recordings. All he had was practice, passion, and a belief instilled by his parents. Use the gift God gave you, and someday your chance will come. Years later, that chance appeared on one of the biggest platforms on earth. As he walked toward the stage, the audience didn't know him. The judges didn't know him. Simon Cowell glanced up from his notes, expecting another shy singer whose voice might or might not impress them. But what no one knew was that the next few minutes would go viral across the globe, reaching millions, and rewriting the expectations of talent shows forever. Daniel steps into the light. The crowd quiets down, cameras zoom in, Simon leans back, arms crossed, preparing for whatever comes next. The host wishes him luck and steps away. The young Filipino contestant adjusts the microphone, breathing slowly. And then, silence. 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds, and then the music begins. The first note of an Elvis classic echoes through the stadium. At that moment, no one expects anything extraordinary. But then Daniel opens his mouth, and the entire universe changes in an instant. What comes out is not just a voice. It's a phenomenon. It's something that forces Simon Cowell's eyebrows to jump upward before he can stop himself. It's something that makes the crowd gasp, makes the judges freeze, and makes everyone watching at home suddenly sit forward. Because somehow, impossibly, unbelievably, this young Filipino man sings with a tone so incredibly close to Elvis Presley that it feels like the king of rock and roll has suddenly been resurrected on stage. But it isn't imitation. It isn't a trick. It isn't a gimmick. It's pure, raw, natural talent mixed with years of emotional connection to the music he grew up with. His voice glides through the opening lines with flawless warmth, that smooth blend of depth and softness Elvis was known for. The vibrato is controlled yet effortless. The phrasing is emotional, heartfelt, and deeply personal. The song fills the entire room, wrapping around every listener like a warm memory. Goosebumps ripple through the audience row by row. People start to whisper, "Is this real? How is he doing that? Who is this guy?" One woman in the front row covers her mouth, eyes already welling up. A man behind her nods slowly, stunned. Even the camera operators can't help whispering to each other, sensing that something monumental is happening. And Simon, who never reveals emotion too easily, leans forward, elbows on the table, eyes squinting as if trying to understand the mystery behind the sound. As Daniel continues, the performance reaches its first high note. And when he delivers it, strong, crystal clear, and filled with conviction, the audience erupts in spontaneous applause even though the song isn't over yet. But Daniel doesn't break. He doesn't lose focus. He keeps singing with every ounce of passion inside him, using every memory of struggle, every moment of doubt, every dream of his childhood. Those emotions fuel every note he releases. Those emotions elevate the song from a performance to an experience. By the time he finishes the second verse, the audience has shifted from disbelief to admiration. Simon's face softens, showing that rare expression he reveals only when he realizes he's seeing something special, something unforgettable. Two of the judges exchange glances, completely shocked. Then comes the chorus. Daniel hits it with power and elegance, his voice rising with a richness that fills every corner of the theater. Cheers break out. The energy becomes electric. Even the background crew is drawn to the performance. And when he reaches the final note, the long, emotional, perfectly sustained note that Elvis himself made famous, the entire room stands as one. The applause is deafening. People shout. Some cry. Others clap until their hands turn red. Daniel finishes, lowers the microphone, and for a moment stands still, unsure of what to do as the audience screams for him. He looks around, overwhelmed, humbled, and speechless. Then he glances at the judges, and this is the moment that becomes viral. Simon Cowell, the toughest judge in talent television history, the man known for his blunt criticism and brutally high standards, stands up from his chair. He stands. For a young Filipino contestant who walked in with no expectations and no fancy background. Simon stands, clapping slowly, intensely, genuinely. And then he smiles. A real, undeniable smile. The entire theater loses control, screaming louder than ever before because when Simon stands, the world stands. When the crowd finally settles, Simon begins to speak. His voice carries a tone of disbelief blended with admiration. He tells Daniel that in all his years of judging, he has rarely heard something so shockingly authentic, something that carries the spirit of an icon while still sounding completely personal and original. He says that Daniel doesn't just sing like Elvis, he feels the music the way Elvis felt it. And that, he explains, is not something that can be taught. It's something you're born with. Another judge calls the performance magical. Another says it's the closest thing to a spiritual tribute she has ever heard. And when it's time for the votes, no suspense is needed. 4 yeses, a golden path to the next round. But the story doesn't end there. What happens next becomes even more inspiring. When the audition is posted online, it spreads like wildfire. Within 24 hours, it hits 1 million views. Within a week, it crosses 10 million. Reaction channels, music critics, and Elvis fans from around the world begin sharing their thoughts. Some call Daniel the Filipino Elvis. Some say he has one of the most unique and soulful voices they've heard in years. Elvis tribute communities respond with love, praising the sincerity and emotional truth behind his performance. Even international news outlets pick up the story. Back home in the Philippines, his entire community celebrates. Neighbors gather around televisions and smartphones, cheering as they watch. One of their own take over the global spotlight. His parents cry tears of pride. His father says he always knew his son had something rare. His mother says she prayed for this moment every night. But the part that touches hearts the most is Daniel's reaction. Despite the world celebrating him, he remains humble. He says he sang Elvis because it was the music of his childhood, the music that helped him survive difficult days, and the music that connected him to his family. He says he never expected the world to listen, but now that they have, he wants to continue performing not for fame, but because he believes music can heal, inspire, and bring people together. As he moves forward in the competition, his confidence grows. But he never loses his humility. He practices harder. He trains his vocals. He continues to honor Elvis while shaping his own identity as an artist. Each performance becomes more powerful than the last. And when he returns to the stage for the next round, the audience already knows his name. They scream for him the moment he enters. Cameras show signs in the crowd. "We love you, Daniel, the king lives through you, Filipino pride, Simon's Elvis." The judges smile warmly as he steps into the spotlight again. And when he sings, this time choosing a different Elvis hit, he proves that his first performance was not luck. It was destiny. By the end of the season, he becomes one of the most talked about contestants in the entire show. Even though he doesn't claim the championship title, he walks away with something far more valuable: global recognition, millions of fans, and endless opportunities ahead. Record labels begin reaching out. Producers send invitations. Tribute shows ask him to appear. Music events request him as a special guest performer. And through it all, he continues to speak about his roots, his family, and the music that carried him from a small home in the Philippines to one of the most prestigious stages in the world. Now, years later, people still talk about that one audition, when a Filipino starts singing Elvis. Even Simon couldn't believe it. That moment has become one of the most iconic and emotional performances in the history of talent shows. A moment that proved once again that true talent needs no introduction, no wealth, no privilege, no perfect background. It only needs a heart full of passion and a voice brave enough to be heard. It's a reminder to every dreamer watching that your origin doesn't define your destination. Your struggles don't define your worth. And your voice, whether it's musical, creative, or personal, has the power to reach the world when the right moment comes. Thank you for watching this story. Thank you for supporting real talent and real journeys. And if you want more stories like this, don't forget to stay connected, share this video, and keep believing in the magic of moments like these. Because sometimes, all it takes is a single song to change a life forever.